For the first time in nearly a half century, the Decorah girls tennis program will have a new head coach in 2022-2023 as Larry Berland has decided to retire after 47 years of leading the program, and he joins us this morning. And Coach B, you've coached for 47 years. You look like you're 50 years old. What was it like teaching and coaching at age 3?
Oh, I tell you what, I've been the luckiest guy alive. I'll tell you that, Darren. I just had such great cooperation and good people to work with, and I'm going to miss it big time. But it's been a dream come true for me.
Talk about your decision to step away from it. It's been a big part of your life for these all these years. What made this the right time to do it for you?
Well, I told my wife, I said that, Vicki, that when it came down to where the grandkids were starting to do their thing, we're getting old enough to compete in different things. And I was going to seriously think about stopping as far as a coach. And then also I wanted to make sure that there was someone that would be maybe in the wings that would take the program and stick with it, because I didn't want to just leave it go and have it kind of wander around. So that was really it. And then of course my wife, I need to spend more time with her. She's been my biggest supporter. I just need to spend some more time with her and enjoy the grandkids.
Looking back to the start of Decorah girls tennis, which would have happened about 1975, how did tennis come to be at Decorah? How did you become a part of it?
Well, actually, the program began, I believe, as far as I can tell, in about 1969 or somewhere in there. They had a couple of competitors that went down to the state tournament. One was Jan Barr, I think was our first one that went to state, and she was the only one. And then they said, well, let's go ahead and have kind of a team. And it was kind of a hit and miss type of thing, I think, to begin with. And when I came here in 1973 as a teacher, Roz Kratz was also hired as a teacher that same year. And she then was given the task of being the girls tennis coach. And of course, back then it was part of your contract. If you signed a contract to teach, you also took on whatever else they wanted you to do. And so anyway, she stuck with it for a couple of years, and then she just kind of didn't want to do it anymore. And I was afraid that the program was going to go away. I mean, there was nobody stepping up. And that's when I went down and met with Wayne Burns and Superintendent Wayne Burns, and he opened up the door for me. I mean, I said, I'd be interested. And he said, have you ever played? And I said, yeah. And he said, you're hired.
Pretty in-depth job interview.
That was a pretty easy interview. That's right, Darren.
So what made you interested in basically continuing that program, making sure it didn't go away? What made you interested in making sure the young women still got the opportunity to play tennis?
Well, I'll tell you what, coaching in Decorah is really a dream job. You got such great cooperation. You got good support. Administration's behind you, and I kind of fell in love with the sport. I mean, I just really enjoyed it, and it was a great sport for the young ladies to play. I mean, you helped out a few years with the boys team, and you know that it's a great sport for those athletes that maybe aren't really into running a lot, or they're not really physical type players, but there's something where they would like to have a sport that they're competing in where it's finesse and they still get to compete. They still get to have some success and have some fun with it. And so I couldn't give that up, Darren. I mean, it just gets in your blood, and it's so fun to see people, young ladies in my case, do things that I don't think they thought they could do.
I know over the last year, and it's definitely been something well worth celebrating. There's been a lot of talk about the 50-year anniversary of the Title IX legislation, which allowed equal opportunity through education. A lot of that was through sports. And I think one of the things you can really appreciate about the state of Iowa, you mentioned really Decorah's first tennis qualifier was in the late 60s. You look back over a half century, the opportunities that young women got in the state of Iowa even prior to the Title IX legislation. I mean, 6-on-6 basketball started in the 1920s, and I think perhaps that's something we don't talk about enough and maybe don't appreciate enough in the historical context in the state of Iowa, knowing the fact that, Iowa gave young women the opportunity to compete, and it didn't need federal legislation to do so. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I came from Minnesota, and our girls that were in my class, for instance, in 1969, I graduated. Up until that point in time, it was GRA, Girls Recreational Association, or a cheerleader. And that was pretty much it. There wasn't anything else available because girls in Minnesota didn't play basketball. And as unlike Iowa, where they had a really a big time program going with that 6-on-6. So the opportunity for the young ladies was there, and I wanted to make sure that they understood that if you're going to be out for tennis, as far as I'm concerned, you're not going to be girl tennis players. You're going to be tennis players that happen to be girls.
And you look back at the development of the game of tennis, and I know you've been involved at the state level in doing your best to grow the game of tennis in the state of Iowa. How has the sport evolved at the high school level? How has it changed? In what ways is it different here in 2022 as compared to 1975? In what ways is it the same?
Oh, that's a great question, Darren. I tell you what, back the first year I started, everything was one class, of course, and all 130 teams at that point in time were playing tennis, and it was all one big deal. And we were really kind of up against it when we came up against the big school programs that had indoor facilities. And that indoor facilities is a huge factor for tennis. It was certainly put to play task last spring with the weather that we had, where you just didn't have time or a chance to practice outside. And so if you didn't have indoor backup, you were really kind of up the creek. So a lot more schools have that now, indoor backup. It's been classified so that you have the top 48 teams population-wise are in one class, and then the rest of us are kind of thrown into the other class, which is great. And the competition, they've done a much better job. The State of Iowa Girls Union, I have to applaud them for what they've done to equalize the sport and with other sports so that we have the same opportunities that, for instance, cross country or track or basketball have. We at one time only had a Final Four. So you either finished in the top four, or you didn't go to state. And now they run it the same way they do with other sports, where you can qualify for state if you're in the top 8 teams at the end of the year. And that made a big difference.
And one of the things that some people, I'm sure, do remember, others may not. I believe the year was 2008. Through a lot of work with this community, a lot of your leadership as well. You had a state girls tennis meet in Decorah, Iowa. I know golf's been in Decorah as well, and it's one of those sports that can travel around pretty easily. But did you ever imagine that you would get to host a state event in Decorah?
No, I didn't. And when I applied for it, they were trying to get it to move around a little bit. They didn't want to go to the same place every year. And I said, well, we can host it up there. And they came up and took a look at the facilities at Luther. And again, Luther College was the key there. They were able to come up with the facilities necessary on outside and indoor courts. And we were able to go ahead. And the only problem that we had is that it rained like a son of a gun that first day. So we had to go indoor, which is never fun, of course. But then by the afternoon, we got ourselves out and had a good tournament. The thing is, the town was unbelievably supportive. I mean, I had so many different people help out, and I believe including yourself. And these things really, everybody got together, and we just had a great time with it. Had a nice little banquet for them at the end of the day, the first day, and they've never done that again in the States. So we have a one-up on everybody, and it was a real highlight, a real high point for our program.
I'm going to ask you probably an unfair question. Just looking at the competition and the on the court end of things, what are some of your top memories over these last 47 years? I know that's probably impossible to cut down, but I'm going to ask you the question because I'm not a fair person.
Well, thank you, Darren. I tell you, the most, probably the first memory I had is the first year I coached. I had about, I don't know, I have 40 girls out, I think. And we had only 2 courts at that point in time. The city courts were only 2 courts down there. And I got such bad tennis elbow because I was just throwing the ball to them, so that they could hit it. And it was, I didn't know what I was doing. I'll be real honest with you. And the girls were so good about it. And from there, I had Ann Jurgens, who had been helping Roz Kratz, and she was very fundamental in helping me kind of get the program off its feet and get going. That's the best memory I have about the early days. And then as the girls, we kept progressing, and we had to play Clear Lake. Clear Lake was a huge competitor at that point in time. They had a streak of 48 dual meets in a row that they had won, and we defeated them here in Decorah 5-4. And it came down to the number 3 doubles, and it was Ann Finger and I'm trying to think here, Stort's girl that ended up winning that match. And that was kind of a turning point for our program, because from that point on, we started to win these close matches against top competition. And I think 1994 was a huge year for us, because that year they classified tennis, and Waterloo Columbus decided to go to the big school and stay in the big school. And we just walked right through that door and won the state title down at Waterloo. And boy, that was a fun deal. And then, of course, around 2000, we had about 3 state titles in a row. Beautiful young gals from Thailand that came to join us in the program, and really made a difference for us. And the Waterloo coach always would call them Hunnikers, but the Hinkers, were very instrumental. We had several good matches with them, and Christopher's. I mean, there's a whole list. I'm going to leave names out, but I tell you what, it's just been a great grow. And, and the success that I've had is all owed to the girls' willingness to do the sport. And number 2, to the tremendous coaching staff that assistants that I've had over the years to help me out. So I really appreciate that. And the last one would be Adam Riley has done a super job here as athletic director, activities director, of supporting the sport. And really, we've made some inroads. Like, for instance, we now have a conference, which is huge for the program. Geez, there's a lot of good memories out there. I feel badly I can't remember or mention all of them.
And I know with Decorah tennis, it really hasn't been a Decorah girls tennis or Decorah boys tennis. It's kind of been an overall program philosophy that you guys have had over the years. That doesn't happen in every sport, and that doesn't happen in every community. What do you credit that to, and who are some of the people involved in making that a reality?
Well, Darren, that's another great question, and I'm proud to answer that, because I felt very strongly that if we have to share the court facilities, because both boys and girls tennis in Iowa are in the same season in the spring. And unlike other programs, which are split between either the fall or the spring. And so we have to make the best use of the facilities. And I'll be real honest with you. The guys help the girls. I mean, the guys hit the ball harder, let's face it. And they're a lot more competitive at times. And so that's really good for the girls. But the other thing is the girls keep the ball alive and force those guys to have to play the game. I mean, they can't just come out and hit the ball once and be done. They have to fight for their place. And so I talked to the coaches. I said, hey, we can't fight amongst the space and everything. We need to share the space. And we've done a tremendous job. Started probably the most with Ron Gesme when he was coaching there for about 12 years here in Decorah. And we had Decorah tennis. I mean, we planned our practices where we'd have time to play one another. And we've kind of come up with a program on Wednesday nights. We still do it. When Reg Lawerson was the coach, now Matt Anderson's taken over. And Wednesday nights, what we do is we actually have a competitive time where the girls and boys are all put together. 2 girls and 2 boys are a team, and they go out and they rotate on courts and they play drills and all kinds of different things and have a good night of it. And they look forward to that co-ed night. They like that a lot. So again, that really made our program stronger there, and I feel very, very much so. And I have to credit the other coaches for buying in, shall we say, and being willing to do it.
And of course, it's been a community effort regarding tennis. And with that community effort, Luther College has been a part of that, because if you only had to rely on the city courts, you probably couldn't host a regional or any sort of state events. Who are some of the people at Luther that got on board to help the game of tennis grow in Decorah?
Well, when we first came here, of course, Sue Ortel and was a legend in the women's tennis. I mean, obviously, she won a lot of conference titles up there at Luther, and she was very cooperative. She was willing to help me. She even came down and talked to the girls, showed them some different things a few times when I was learning, and that really helped us kind of get started. And you just can't say enough good things about her. And then there's another guy that was not too bad a tennis coach either, and his name was Rich Leak, who had tremendous success up at Luther, and again, very cooperative. He still comes to our meets. He's still willing to help the girls. Can't say enough good things about those two people. And now, you know what? We've got another young man here. Adam Strand has taken kind of the same. He's really helpful last year, especially with the weather the way it was. We were scrambling when we could to get some court space, and he made accommodations for us, which I can't say enough good things about. We didn't get to use the indoor because of the COVID deal, but the outside courts were there for us. And there was another young man that's now going to be a golf coach, believe it or not. His name is Brian Hinker, who was also coaching up there for a lot of years. And boy, I tell you what, he was very cooperative, really helped us out, was willing to help us out. And of course, he was on state tournament championship teams here in Decorah. His sisters were as well. So, he was willing to step in and help out a lot. So Luther College, I couldn't have done this without it. I mean, without them helping me out. That was for sure.
Hinker or Honecker?
Well, it depends if you're down at Waterloo or not. If it's down at Waterloo, it's Honecker. So the problem is for him, Mr. Coach Will, who's a great guy, great coach, but for Columbus, he's going to have to deal with it again because there's more Honeckers coming through the pipeline now. So hopefully we'll get to that level.
You retired from teaching in, I believe, 2006, and you kept going with the coaching end of things. What kept you going when you weren't in the classroom every day?
Well, I love being around young people. I mean, I just really enjoyed teaching and being around them. I have a lot of fun with them, and that's what's keeping me in the substitute role. And also I do a Envirathon. I'm coaching the 8th grade girls basketball again this year. And I just enjoy being around them. They got a lot of energy and they keep you going, and it gives you some kind of a sense of responsibility, Darren. You've got something that you have to do. And I think as you mature, and I'll say that instead of getting older, as you mature, you find out that it'd be awfully easy to kind of just sit down and kind of let the world go by. And I'm not willing to do that yet. I'm still too much involved with a lot of different things. Still like to do a lot of recycling, of course, and I got a lot of cooperation there. So it's just a great life, Darren. I mean, you ought to have been a teacher. I mean, you'd have been a great teacher.
Well, I appreciate that. I will say on that end of things, having you in 9th grade physical science back in the day, probably wasn't your top student, but I would have to say I probably wasn't as dedicated to academics as I should have been, but I learned a lot from you after I left your classroom as compared to probably in the classroom when I should have learned a lot from you.
Well, there's a lot of distractions, Darren, when you're a 9th grader. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
A lot of distractions. So I accept that. That's not a problem.
And just looking back, obviously you've been around young people for a long time from an educational perspective, a coaching perspective, and just now from a parent and a grandparent perspective. How have young people changed? How are they the same?
There's a lot more distraction. Speaking of distractions, there's a lot more distraction for them now. Electronics has entered the field, and I tell you, the electronics are a wonderful thing. I mean, let's face it. I use them all the time myself. This is an example right here, Darren. I mean, when would you have ever thought in 9th grade science that we'd ever be Zooming like this in the morning, So there's a lot of perks. And as a result, it takes a lot of time away from these young people to kind of get out and do things. And that's the thing that I've noticed more is that kids aren't doing as many outdoor activities. They're not doing as many group activities maybe as they had been doing in the past, looking for something to do. I remember when my boys were little, they played pickleball, or it's not pickleball, but wiffle ball all summer. I mean, geez, they were playing wiffle ball pretty much every day of their lives. And I didn't hear of one wiffle ball game this year. I don't, maybe there were some, but I didn't hear of any. Or they go down and shoot baskets with a bunch of guys, or girls would go roller skating as a group and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of thing has changed a bit. As far as the young people go, I think that this group of girls and boys that are coming through right now, Darren, they understand the situation in our world and know that they're going to have to step up. My generation didn't do a real good job with it. I hate to say that, and I don't know about your generation, but I think they probably were a bit lax at times too. But these young people that are now, they're conscious. They know what's going on. They know what's happening out there, and I think they're willing to step in. So I think the future looks pretty good.
I know you've coached basketball as well for at the underneath levels for quite some time, boys and girls end of things. You've led the Envirothon program at Decorah to heights that a lot of schools in the state haven't reached on that end of things. Are you planning to continue with both?
I have to, Darren. I can't give this up yet. That's one of the things I told Vicky. I said, I'm not just going to go and crawl in a hole someplace. I said, I'm going to keep going. And again, like I said, I really enjoy the subbing. I've already got 1-day sub jobs lined up this fall. And then the Envirothon has been just a huge deal. Geez, 50 kids plus that were willing to, to spend time. It's all free time. I mean, it's their time. And it's hard to schedule, but boy, I tell you what, I've got some wonderful young people that I'm looking forward to being around again this year.
And looking at your career, obviously you raised 3 very good young men with Greg and Paul and Adam. And of course, Vicky has been very supportive of you. I remember every year we'd finish our basketball season on the radio. I'd always thank Vicky for letting you come out and play year in and year out. How important has that family support been, knowing the fact that you were involved in a lot of things and touching a lot of young people's lives, but again, you had the 4 people that were living under your roof. You were there, they were your number one fan, and vice versa. How'd you balance that all?
Well, it was difficult, Darren. And if I look back, I know that I missed opportunities that I could have spent with them more, as far as especially in the spring when tennis was going on, because tennis was it ate you up. With weekend meets and a lot of time consideration. At one point in time, I was doing 3 shifts at night, and I didn't get home till after 7 each night. So I didn't get to eat meals with them, and I didn't get to go to some of their activities and things of that nature. So they were very, very supportive in allowing me to do that. And I can't say enough good things about Vicky being there to hold the whole thing together. I look back and I think, it could have been, but I can't do anything about that. That's why I want to spend more time with the grandkids now, because they grow up so doggone fast.
Yeah, they definitely do. Any final words as you put your tennis coaching career in perspective? What's the main things that you're going to take away from the experience, and what is the main thing that you hope the young people took away from the experience of playing Decorah girls tennis?
Well, Darren, again, another great question. There's a lot that I could say there, but I think the number one thing I'm going to say first is I cannot say enough about the support that I've been given, that people have trusted me to go ahead and do the right things with their young ladies in tennis, and see if we can get them to be at a higher plateau of success when it's all done. And again, I'm not talking about necessarily tennis success, but just believing in themselves, having some success and having some fun doing it, and being with people that are kind of sharing that same goal. The other thing too that I think is very, very important here is that the winning and losing isn't the thing that we're after here. We're not after the winning and losing. Yes, it's nice to win. It's nice if you can pull something off, but it's about the idea of getting more confidence in yourself, and actually performing under pressure. And that's something you're going to have to do as you move on into life. I mean, you know that there's some pressure out there for when you got a job and you got something you got to do, you got responsibility. And that's basically what I'm after. And when I was coaching. So I've just had an incredible go here. I'm going to miss the heck out of it, but you know what? In the same token, there's going to be somebody else that's going to step up and do just as good a job and better job than I did. And that's a nice thing about it.
Larry, we appreciate you taking some time to talk about your career this morning. I want to thank you for working with me on basketball games for 20 years. And I'll just frankly say it, Larry didn't get paid a heck of a lot to do it, but he was very loyal to me, and we had a lot of fun calling basketball games, and we had more fun with our enlightening, engaging conversations through the highways and byways of Northeast Iowa. Most importantly, we thank you for what you have done and what you will continue to do for the kids of Decorah. And there's frankly, I mean, there's few people I can think of that has dedicated their lives to the young people of Decorah more than you, my friend. And the community owes you a thank you for that. And now you can do a few more things on your schedule, and that's going to be the cool thing.
Yep, you're right, Darren. Again, thank you. That was very kind of you to say those words for me. But, you know, I enjoyed the heck out of the basketball. Again, like you said, we solved every problem that the world had on the way to and from those games. If they'd only.
But we never wrote them down so we didn't.
Yeah, that's right. We should have recorded it. We could have been who knows where by now, probably in prison. I don't know. But the point is that, you know, it's been just a great go. Gosh, it's going to be different, but you know what? I'm kind of looking forward to maybe having a spring in that many years. I don't know if I really remember what they're like. So it'll be kind of fun to be able to do that. So again, thank the people that I've had an opportunity to be around. They've been so good to me. And so thanks for this too, Darren. I really appreciate it.
Larry Berland retiring after 47 years of coaching Decorah girls tennis.